Thanks very much, Richard. Hello, everyone, online and in the room. So I'm going to do a demo of this app to show you how I use this in my everyday job role as an advisor on marine license applications, specifically dredging and disposal license applications. So I use this app mostly when I'm providing sample plan advice, and the purpose of a sample plan is for us to tell the applicant which contaminants they should test for in sediment they're going to either dredge or dispose at sea, and the number of samples, the depths we want them to sample at. From that information, we can then determine an associated level of risk with dredging or disposal of that material. So sometimes the applicant will give me previous sediment sample data they have, so I can use that to inform my sample plan advice. More often than not, they won't. So this is where the app comes in really handy for me to be able to see what previous sediment data is in the area that is going to be dredged or have material disposed from. And if there isn't any, then are there any samples in the nearby vicinity that could be indicative of the material or the contaminant state of the material that we're interested in? So before I go into the app fully, I just quickly want to talk about the action levels that have been mentioned briefly, because it will help you to make sense of what you're going to see soon on the screen. So shortly you'll see lots of dots appear, and some will be green, some will be yellow, and some will be red. So green sample points signify material with contaminant results below action level 1. Yellow signifies results between action level 1 and 2, and red is results above action level 2. Now, OSPAR underpins much of what we do with our advice, so we use OSPAR guidelines, which interpret the action levels generally as material below action level 1 is suitable for disposal at sea. Material between action level 1 and 2 requires further assessment to see where on that scale results lie. Is it closer to action level 1? Is it closer to action level 2? And then generally, OSPAR interpret results above action level 2 as not allowed for disposal at sea. And the reason I say generally is because there are incidences where material with results of action level 2 are permitted for disposal at sea, like all the time. That river is known to have elevated pHs and metals due to the mining industry and tar pits, etc. So that industrial heritage means that we will sometimes permit that material for disposal at sea. Okay, so I'm going to go into the app now, which is the exciting bit. What I would typically do is zoom into an area that the applicant wants to dredge or dispose of material from. Go with the time because I've just spoken about it and we know that there are elevated contaminants. So I'll talk you through the features bit by bit. Obviously, Richard's mentioned some of it already, so I might be sort of repeating some of what he said. But firstly, we have the action levels at the top. So we have 3 options. Current simply means the UK action levels are being compared to in this situation. So things like metals which have UK green action levels require this to be selected. Those simply means for those contaminants that don't have UK green action levels, we use the other assessment criteria, which Claire mentioned earlier. Custom is the option that Richard mentioned, where we can literally just type in our own custom action levels, but I would never do that because I obviously need to use. So then we have this drop down, which is the type of contaminant we want to look at. As you can see, there are a few. I'm going to go for metals because it's at the top of the list. And then we will have some data appear. And as I said, it's this sort of traffic light color coding system of red, yellow, and green. Under this, we have contaminants, so the actual determinant in metals. Arsenic is selected at the moment. And then under that, we have river basin. I don't tend to use this option. This just allows me to select a specific district. Under that, we have a box with the samples in a database. So at the moment, it's telling me that there are 6,318 arsenic results, data points. But currently, I'm viewing 683, and obviously that will change the more I zoom in and out. Windows updates in real time. And then of those 615 arsenic results, 21 of those samples had their PSA results uploaded as well. But as Claire said, PSA tends to go to one click, so we wouldn't really worry about having that information on this app. This specifically focuses on contaminants. Underneath this, we have the time frame series selection, so I can hold the time frame or unfix it, so I can toggle around to look at a specific year or a decade. As you can see, it's from 1998 to 2025. I'll come on to why we specifically say 2019 a little bit later on the data set. And then over here on the right hand side, we have the default sort of setting, which shows you the pie chart or the histogram of sample results. So the proportion of samples that are below action level 1, above action level 1, etc. So it allows for really easy, rapid assessment. Just visually, I can not have to look into the data too much to know that arsenic generally in time action level 1. Then we have the data table tab, which is probably the most helpful tab in the whole app for me personally, because it displays every single data point as an individual row, and it sorts them from the most recent sampling to the earliest. So I can see here that the last time that the applicant had sampled for arsenic was in 2024 in September. It shows me exactly which marine licence application this refers to by giving me the MLA reference there. So I can easily look at that on MCMS to see exactly what the applicant was wanting to do, was it capital dredge, maintenance dredge, etc. I can see the individual measurement associated with the sample, 7.8 ppm, and then that in comparison to the action level, so below action level 1. And if I zoom my screen out a little bit more, you see that there's a depth column to show me what depth it's taken from. So this is really helpful, particularly the sample date column, because again, when we think of OSPAR, they have a 3 to 5 year data validity window. So 3 years being for any material that has results above action level 1, we'd expect the applicant to sample every 3 years. And it can be extended to 5 years for areas that are more clean and there are no results of action level 1. If I was to see that the last time this area had been sampled for arsenic was perhaps 2017, I would note that was 8 years ago, so that surpasses that validity window of 3 to 5 years, and therefore I would be asking the applicant to sample for metals again, because the data at present would not be representative enough. It would be timely. That's really helpful in determining which contaminants to ask for based on the sample age. We also have the option of the Excel download and print buttons. So Excel download just means that we can convert this into a spreadsheet if we want to sort of manipulate the data further, and obviously print it. I don't ever use this tab, but the data input tab literally lets us zoom in and we click a point anywhere, double click it, and it can fill in the longitude and latitude of that sample point. And you can enter the contaminant value, submit, and it will just show you your result you're looking at in comparison to the rest of them in the database. The PSA tab here, it can be helpful, although, as we've said, much of the PSA data goes to one benthic. It's still helpful just to have an idea of what the PSA might be like, because we typically associate finer particles with contaminants, so silt and clay cover a larger surface area. Therefore, they're more likely for contaminants to bind to them than something like. And so if I can see that an area is comprising predominantly mud or silt, that might not be an overriding factor, but it might help in my justification slightly to think, okay, this area is silty, so the chance of there being more contaminants is more likely than an area that's gravelly. And then if I draw your attention to the little box inside the map itself, pick samples and see, again, it changes the more you zoom in and out. You can see the lowest or the minimum value for arsenic, the number of samples you're looking at right now, and also the maximum. That's just really helpful as well at any one time to see what the min and max values were. Also select PSA within that box, and it shows me a pie chart. So I can see here that it's these samples that had their PSA data uploaded. And I can see a pie chart to show a nice, easy visualization of the data to know that this was primarily silt or mud. And then as I go down the river, this sample here actually looks to be more sand. So it can just show you perhaps some patterns or changes of sediment type as you go to different parts of the river. So that's helpful. Again, we have the basins option, but that's not one that I particularly use, but it's helpful nonetheless. We also have the option to look at disposal sites based on their status of open or active or closed or disused. Again, not something that I particularly use, but it's just helpful to see the proximity of the disposal site to the dredge area. And something else worth mentioning is you can also click on a sample point and you get a little label. You can get, well, it depends if you've got samples selected or not, but at the moment, because I've got samples ticked in that box, it's showing me the individual measurement of that sample. So this result is 31.25 ppm. I can also bring up the MLA number and the sample ID. Not doing it at the moment, but never mind. It just allows you to see this, the samples labels, and you can easily find it when you're going through the data table, because there's often lots of pages, as you can see, 13 pages here. So if you can just click on a sample, normally it brings up its label and makes it easy to find it within the results table. So that's the end of the actual demo, but I just want to bring your attention to the strengths and limitations of the app, because I think it's important to just cover those things. So starting off with the strengths. Firstly, it's really accessible. So this app is freely available. Anybody can access the sediment contaminant data, and therefore it supports collaboration and sharing of data. So we can have statutory nature conservation bodies, consultants, researchers, students requesting this data, or sorry, accessing this data, whereas in the past this would have had to have been requested from us. It's a comprehensive data set, so as you can see, it's from 1998 to 2019, and it saves us so much time as an advisor to just have this semi-automation process of the app where we can just find the results we're interested in really easily, export them and submit them, and it obviously saves you a lot of money as well in staff time. It's user-friendly, so the easy spatial visualization and temporal filtering, the intuitive traffic light color coding system, all of it allows for a rapid assessment. So I don't have to trudge through loads and loads of data. I can just see green means good, yellow means okay, red means bad, like in a very simple way. But the limitations of the app is the data currency. So what I mentioned earlier is that the time series obviously goes up to 2025, because that's the year that we're in. But we have 4 marine license application sediment sampling results up to 2019. So that's all complete, but beyond that, it's kind of partial. So we have some data, as you can see, last night we had 2024 data on there, but we still have some data sets between 2019 and 2025 that need uploading. And obviously we will go live eventually where that is all and just is a very seamless process. But we just need to sort of dedicate the time to do that backlog of the results that need to go on with that. And also, this app doesn't account for changes in analytical methods. So should we really compare a pH result from 2019 to 1998, because in that time, methods have changed, refined, they've become better at detecting sort of lower levels, and I'm not sure you'd have much confidence in comparing data from 1998 to 2019 if the method has changed that much. Also, this intermediate value, the yellow colour coding can be quite misleading. So I think we need to ensure that advisors are checking the actual individual values. For example, if you take zinc, a result of 133, which is just above its action level 1, is not considered very risky to the marine environment whatsoever. But a result just below its action level 2 of 799 would be of concern, yet both of those results would be displayed as a yellow point on the app. So it could make the advisor be a little bit complacent by just seeing the colour and thinking yellow means okay, when actually that intermediate value between action level 1 and 2 is a large scale. And I would say that they are very, very different results that should be treated very differently. So I think it would be good if we could display results just above action level 1 as a light yellow, results slap bang in the middle of action level 1 and 2, perhaps an amber, and then results just below action level 2 is orange, so that you can see that kind of level of severity of value, rather than just assuming that no means okay. And then finally, the intended use of the app. As Claire has mentioned, this is not a decision-making tool. It's not there to completely replace advisors. We have to use our expert judgment and local knowledge and other sources still, like Polrex, for example. Say this app did have all data up to 2025 on it, and I was looking at an area for pHs, and it showed me that in February this year, pH levels were low from sampling that was done. But the MMO informed me that in June 2025 there was an oil spill. I would know that the sediment would actually be high pHs, but the app itself would be showing me low levels, because last time that sampling occurred was February before the spill. So you can't rely on the app. It's only showing you the sediment status from sampling that's occurred, not the sort of real-time sediment status every minute of the day. So thank you very much for listening. I'm just going to hand you back to Claire to wrap it